Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty. Arganissima, New York.
Welcome back to iHealth Radio, the iHealth channel, the FitnessFab channel with your host, Hurricane Age. Special edition today, more of a fitness, almost a different angle of fitness, because over the last 2 years, I've had a lot of guests, and we've talked about fitness as a whole, wellness, different concepts of fitness. And it all has a theme where fitness has to happen somewhere. and today I have the luxury and the pleasure of having someone who built an actual fitness platform, a fitness place, a fitness home, and a fitness model that we'll talk about specifically today in detail, and how it compares, and also how it's different from other systems out there of fitness. So again, I always start a little bit, in the suspense mode. And so that's the trick here. But with me, I have Bryan Klein, who is the founder of the Max Challenge. And Max Challenge is a national franchise with a fitness model that's unique. So, Bryan, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited.
So am I, and I'm actually excited. I know people are going to be like, yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear about the Max Challenge. What's the story behind it? But behind any entrepreneurial experience or some sort of an enterprise, there is a story of a human, someone who started it, and that's you. But you do have a story. You have a story that got you into it in the fitness world, and so much more to create a place for people to actually transform themselves. So let's talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. So believe it or not, for me, it started when I was 8 years old. And people find this to be absolutely incredible. People challenge me on it all the time. Really, you made a decision to go into this business when you're 8 years old? And I'm lucky to be one of those fortunate people that recognized a true passion at a very early age. And when I was 8 years old, my father literally took me to a karate school. He went to enroll me in these lessons. And as he was talking to the people at the front counter, I was watching the class packed with all these kids. I was 8 years old, kids around my age, 8, 9, 10. And I'm looking at the gentleman standing in the front of the room. And at that instant, I thought to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be the person in front of this room. And it wasn't that I wanted to be in front of the room, and it wasn't that I want to be the one barking out orders. But what I recognized at a very young age is that in that place, that instructor's passion, his desire, was to help every single one of those little kids become more confident, become a better person. And for whatever reason, I was attracted to that. And with every class, I became more attracted to it. With every passing year, I became even more, devoted to dedicating myself to helping people live their best lives. And like my parents hoped, they really prayed, I think, more than hoping, they prayed that it was a phase. And I hope this guy gets a solid job. I hope he doesn't. But I never let that dream get crushed. No matter what, stood in my way, no matter what other people's viewpoint was, I never let that dream get crushed. And I kept paying attention to the side that you could do this. This is important. You're going to help people. And I did it. I started a martial arts school, which then blossomed into several martial arts schools. And eventually, within that idea, was born the concept of helping even more people. It actually happened in what I like to call an aha moment, right? Like, I'm sure you've had those, right?
Yeah, it happens. It's like,
yeah.
I got to do this.
I got to do it, right? So in the karate schools, part of what we did every year, we would do a charity fundraiser for a different needy family or somebody that needed help, or children's fundraiser. And this one year we decided we were going to help get enough money to buy a handicap accessible van for this family. Long story short, we thought it was $50,000, but once you would have this van, the van was $50,000. Once you had it retrofitted with the equipment, it was $100,000, right? Yeah. And yeah, so it was like in one fell swoop, it was like thinking, how are we going to tell these people that we can't get them this van? The short of it is, we figured it out. Myself and the team of people that were working on this project figured it out together. And along with all the families in this karate school, we were presenting this van to this family. And on the day that we were presenting this van to this family, I looked at all the people that showed up that were part of this incredible event. And I was looking at it, it was like dozens and dozens and dozens of people who were all part of this fundraising effort to get this van. And now we did it somehow. And by the way, it was during a recession. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, how did we do that? How do we pull it off? This is the aha moment. Mm-hmm. Then I thought for a moment, give yourself credit. You're the leader of this. Somehow you led these people. And I said, how did I pull this off? Then I took it a step further. I asked an even more powerful question. I said, why is it that I'm willing to do more for other people than I am for myself? I mean, I was doing good for my family, but I really wasn't doing outstanding for my family, right? And I thought to myself in that moment, if I could combine my passion for helping people with a business that had even more potential than the amazing martial arts schools that we built, I would be unstoppable. And then I took another powerful question. What am I good at? What am I really good at? What talent do I have? And I said, fitness, nutrition, and motivation to get people incredible results. And that, incredibly, is how this whole idea started. But then the last piece that I'll share with your audience is just, then I took it to the next level, right? Because now I had this idea, I had a vision. And when this event was over, we awarded the thing. We were all very proud. They got the van. Tears are falling. People are just, it's unbelievable. Chills running down our spines. I shake everybody's hands. We give everybody hugs, high-fiving. I run home and I write my one-page business plan. And that's where people fall short. They don't take action on the visions they have. They feel it in their hearts, but they don't. And that moment was like a defining moment. I could have said, oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, you know, all these. But in that moment, I said, this is good. Fitness, nutrition, motivation to give people amazing results. And I felt like it was more than a business. It was a calling. And this is possibly what I was put here on earth to do. I wrote that business plan. And by the way, the hallmark, the anchor of that business plan was one statement: to help people live happier, healthier, more fulfilled lives. And that was the beginning of what's turned to literally 100 centers throughout the Northeast and in 6 states. So it's been exciting. And I don't want to oversimplify, but it really started with just an idea and then taking that first step, moving forward.
Bryan, that is an impressive story. And so there's a couple of things. First thing, you and I have something in common. So I actually started martial arts too. I was 9, wow. And I've been doing that since then. So I share that real, martial spirit, concept, right? And it's a different level of thinking, and because you're trained in a certain way since you're early on, and it just sets you up in a discipline mode, right? And you know that. But what I was impressed about is that the fact that since day one, you wanted to actually have your own school, and so I did the same, but I didn't deliver. You delivered. I got caught up with other things, but you kept with it and you did it. And I know for a fact martial arts schools are not easy. It's hard to manage financially. It's difficult, and there's not a lot of margin cost. There's things that you can make it I guess financially conceivable, but at the end of the day, it's not an easy business. And so I know it's tough, but also I wanted to touch really on the element that you mentioned about the fundraiser and the story behind that. I mean, that is touchy. I mean, really, it's heartfelt. I mean, it's big, and you did it, but you said something about goal, aha moment. You had a goal, you had an idea, you put it down, and you just went for it. But remember, you said at 8 years old, you already had the idea that you wanted this, and you did. So you had that in you. You were already determined and ambitious all along, and you take it to the next level. And that's something for our audiences, anyone out there listening. If you have an idea, as you said, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Make it work. And you can. We're looking at an exception right here. Actually, it shouldn't be an exception. It should be the rule. We can be all doing that. But unfortunately, you are the exception. That not everybody goes behind and for their ideas and really pursue them. And it's also a not only just there was an idea, it's almost a novice idea. Well, it wasn't even novice. It was actually a noble idea more than anything else, because you want to help people to be better, to transform for better. And that's actually extreme, because we all have some ideas. Some ideas are good. Some ideas are good for people. Some ideas may not even do anything for anyone, right? But the idea that you have, I guarantee you, over the years since you've opened up all these over 100 units or stores, or franchises around the nation, you know how many people you've touched, and we're going to talk possibly about your membership, growth. But really, that's a lot of people you transfer. And when you transform somebody, you're also transferring their families, their entourage, because they are literally a beacon to everybody around them. So
it's true.
So you wanted to say something. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to recap some of that.
Everything you're saying is so true. And I'm so happy to hear that there's a fellow, martial artist that I'm connecting with. Awesome. Yeah. But, I think, part of what makes this business so powerful for me, not just for me, but for the franchisees as well. When I started it, it was something within my heart. And when I wrote that on that piece of paper that day, I wrote, to help people live happier, healthier, more fulfilled lives, right? And then every decision that I made moving forward was put through that filter. So the first person I hired, is this a person that could uphold this standard, right? Because something amazing happens when you join forces with like-minded people that at the core, you don't have to force them. You don't have to say, hey, here's a piece of paper with my values, the values of this company. We expect you to live these values. That, to me, never works, because sometimes now you're going to try to take a square and put it in a round hole. Never works, right? But when you know who you are at the core, and then you look for opportunities that really support you to be who you are, amazing things start to happen. And that was truly the aha moment. But the biggest goal is to help other people, other entrepreneurs discover that aha moment. People who say, I'd love to be in a business where, I can make money, but on top of that, if I can make money and help people at the same time, that would be like my dream job. That would be my dream career. That's where the magic really starts to happen.
Well, Bryan, I have to say, you took it to a world of challenges. I mean, it's funny, the name Max Challenge, but really, being in business, especially in the franchise concept, I mean, it's tough. And also you picked up, a very competitive world, because I mean, and you and I were talking about, where we're almost like 10 miles apart right now. Yeah. But really our area is almost congested with various gym and models of fitness. And it's crazy, because you have those large franchises or the large, corporations that are all over. And, these are large surfaces with multiple, basketball courts, pools, and, classes and all that. And then you have the boutique, the studios, and there are a lot of them that started in the last, few years. I mean, I can name, I love kickboxing. You have Orange Theory. You have what the other? There's so many. There's a lot of them. There's boot camps. There's local ones. I mean, there's so many, right? And you start in the middle of that whole, I guess, uprise of these mini, friend concepts, right? But yours is unique because, and each one of them, I think it's unique because they have a different value, right? But you mixed it up a little bit, because not only you do the fitness part, but you also do the wellness part, or the nutrition part, which was one of your concepts, right? So I love the concept that you put together, where it's have people live healthier, happier, but also incorporate. It's not just about working out; it's how you compensate with other things. Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. It started. I actually, part of coming up with the idea of fitness, nutrition, motivation was 21 years ago. And I only know because this is my son's birthday. He's 21 years old, right? So he's gonna be 22 in February. And he was born premature. He was 2 pounds, and it was a very stressful time. I gained 100 pounds during that time. So I went from being a martial arts instructor, an athlete, to basically being 100 and something pounds overweight. So it was crazy, right? And when I went to get myself back in shape, I realized, like, you know, I was not only down in a martial arts school, but I was a member of every gym in the area, every single one of them. I had personal trainers. I had all this. Nobody said anything to me about nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Also, nobody said anything to me about motivation, about showing up, about giving it your all. No one was really motivating me, you know, or taking active steps to motivate me to come back the next time. And I started to think, like, this is a tremendous opportunity. Somebody should do this. Somebody should combine these things. This is nuts. I'm spending all this money that I can't afford, what really amounted to probably thousands of dollars a month on all these different trainers and things to get back into shape. And I knew what to do. It's just, you know, I need that little extra push.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is going to kill me. I'm thinking to myself, right? Because I'm spending all this money. Someone needs to do this in one easy to follow. And it was that aha moment that made me think, because at that time I had lost the weight down to 170 pounds, in great shape. And I'm standing on that stage thinking to myself, you know, awarding that van, what am I good at that I could really provide value? Fitness, nutrition, and motivation. So what makes us different is definitely the combination of the fitness and the nutrition. But this motivation piece sets us apart from every other concept. So as a quick example, the hardest day for people is Monday. And what only thing harder than Monday to get yourself going into the gym, they say in these on the internet, right? Never miss a Monday. But the only thing harder than a Monday is the first Monday, right? So if you haven't worked out in a month, if you haven't worked out in a year, if you haven't worked out ever in your entire life, and you enroll at the gym, you're thinking of every good reason to not go to that gym, right? It's true. People are convincing themselves not to go before they even go the first time. So our concept, just as a quick example, is what are the friction points? Where do people give up on themselves normally? Let's insert ourselves at that point and give them the motivation and the focus they need to just make it in the front door. And at the end of that class, let's make sure that they leave feeling 10%, 20%, 30%, 100% better than they did coming in, which happens just because of the physiology, just because of the motivation and the type of words that we use in the class, because of the culture that we create, the supported, connected community. So when they leave, sounds a lot like martial arts, right? But when they leave that class, they're looking forward to come back the next day. When they come 5 days in a row, what are we creating? A habit. And then they can't wait to come back the next Monday. So when you start doing this, you know, day after day, week after week, month after month, you got the support of the community. You have the support of the staff. They know when you're losing focus because we have systems in place to track how people are doing. They insert themselves into the story. They pull people back in. They motivate them back in. And before long, people who hated exercise, who thought they would never get up early in the morning or go late at night or whatever it might be, are saying, I can't believe I ever lived without regular exercise and nutrition, because they have more energy, more focus, all the things that we know that you get from being in great shape. And then you have a member for life, you know, somebody who's like, the Max changed my life. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, the Max didn't do anything. I laid out a plan and you did the hard work. You applied yourself to the system. So congratulations to you. But regardless of what I say to them, because they deserve the credit, the member deserves the credit. They come back, they say, the Max changed my life. I'm forever grateful. And that's, you know, that's part of the story, how you build a fantastic reputation and a great business. Follow through, do what you say you're going to do, help people achieve their goals.
Bryan, you know, I have to say, you're talking about all the motivation stuff, and I'm looking at your sign, conceive, believe, achieve, inspire, legacy. I love it. So you know, you're actually not only preaching, it's there, it's on your wall, and that's important because you got to see it to believe, right?
You got to see it. That's step one.
Yep. Yeah. And I hear you. And, you know, your story when you had your son and you went through that whole transformation, you know, up and down, and you went to I guess the quest to regain your shape and become more fit and stuff. But you're right. And in the most, you know, old models of gyms or the larger, you know, gyms, it's not based on like nutrition or like motivation as much as, you know, it's not designed for that. It's just a platform for you where you can go, and, just take some weights and do your thing. It's do it your own kind of thing, ad hoc whenever. So no one is going to like, hey, let's go to the gym, unless you have a bunch of you guys say, okay, we're going to go. I mean, I like martial arts is different. You're looking to that next level, that next, stage, the next belt. Yes. And you're working towards, plus you're always learning the basics, and then you want to learn more. So you're always motivated to go more. So you have that background of motivation, because in martial arts, you're always motivated. You want to have that medal, you want to have that trophy, you want to get the next belt, and every belt you have like a couple of levels in that belt. So in karate, I mean, you can go, until like, you're dead, you can still get some belt levels. So that's the concept. But then you added these concept because your experience has been, you're right, you spent a lot of money to get a personal trainer, just so someone can get you motivated, to get you like, here's the course, what you need to do to actually shape up. And that is a big deal. And not everybody can spend thousands of dollars, just sometimes people just let it go, forget about it. I'm not doing this. But then you combine that concept, which is, okay, we'll get you the fitness piece that's available. And there's a lot of exercise we can do. And coming from martial arts, that's easy. We can burn everybody's fat in 2 seconds if you did a martial arts training, right? But then you added, to your point, the nutrition part. Most of us can work out all we want. But if we take the bad stuff in and we don't watch what we eat, and we eat the wrong time, the quantities are bad, and it's almost like putting water in the sand, right? It's not going to help you. It's big. Then you have to your point, motivation. I mean, you can give people even money, and if they're not motivated to do anything, they're not going to do anything with that. Oh, I don't want to go there. Let's go. I'm tired. You're right. People and when someone is not fit, or when they're not really in, even when you are fit, even when you are really constantly do it, it's a consistency that works. If you do it and stop, and you start getting painful, it's a problem. Because that's the thing. When you stop and you start, everything hurts. And it's a bad week, right? And that's usually demotivating. People like, oh no, I can't do this. I can't do this. But then people are always in need of this. And you know what? Unfortunately, humans are not that disciplined to get up every day and do exactly what they need. Blah, blah. Most of us will tend to be a little lazier, and get comfort, levels of like, I'm staying home today. The weather sucks. I'm just staying, in my little blanket, whatever the case. Or I'm coming from work late. I'm not going to go to the gym. So those are like things that are constant across, a lot of folks. You've almost, figured out the magic formula. And you added it, in a nice way. Then you put a protocol in place, but then you follow with people. Now I know something about your brand, because I know, like, people start early on in the morning. Like your classes start at 5:30 or something. 5 o'clock. There you go. So it's like the early bird, baby. You got to get that energy before you can head out, right? So that's one. And two, your concept is also, I know there's a timeline for each class, like you have to commit to a certain amount of time, right? So guide us through that. I know you wanted to actually interject a couple of times, so go for it.
No, this is great. That's a fantastic question. So everybody starts with a 10-week program. And the reason why they start in 10 weeks is because it's short enough amount of time that it's like, I'm not asking you to change for your entire life. I'm asking you to try this for 10 weeks. Meaning I'm asking you to try to exercise 5 days a week for 10 weeks. If you miss 1 or 2 here or there, whatever, it's all good, right? But you're going to try your best to attend 5 days a week for 10 weeks. The second thing is we're going to ask you to do your best to follow our nutrition program for 10 weeks. So the magic in this is people are willing to try it for 10 weeks. Okay, I'll give it a try. But then what they find is the results they get are so outstanding that they never want to go back to their old ways, just like I was talking about before. So, people who never understood the concept of not eating processed foods. Don't eat processed foods for 10 weeks. See what happens to your focus. See what happens to your concentration. See how your inflammation in your body goes down. For many people, they've had stomach problems their entire life. They're popping Zantac. I think it's called Zantac. You take it for, it's an antacid or such. Or Pepsid or something like that. Their entire 10 years, a decade, they're taking this. And they do the max challenge. They follow for 10 weeks. They don't pop these pills anymore. Actually, even more crazy is people who are on insulin, type 2 diabetics who are on insulin. And I'm not saying every single person is a type 2 diabetic, but I have dozens and dozens of members who were type 2 diabetics using insulin to manage their diabetes for decades. They do the max challenge after 10 weeks, off the insulin. Why?
Wow.
It's easy. It's easy to figure out. Fitness and nutrition. But you know who's given up on us? Doctors. Because they only got 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 12 minutes, right, to talk to us to the rest of us in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And the averages show that people don't want to hear it. They want the quick fix. They want the 1-2. So they migrated to the fast, prescribed it. But on the flip side of this, nutrition and exercise is medicine. And I'm not saying it could cure every single thing, and medicine has its place. But man, in 10 short weeks, people get off of insulin, people improve their mood. They no longer have mood swings because they learn how to eat the right foods at the right times and the right quantities. And amazing things happen. So everyone starts in 10 weeks. After that, believe it or not, the statistics are crazy. 80% of the people that enroll in our 10-week program stay with us in the legacy program, which is there's the ongoing, you can see the word legacy in the back. That's our ongoing monthly program. And we have centers, the Old Bridge Center as an example, their average length of a membership is 36 months. So it's 3 years. So their average member is there for 3 years. I've heard industry statistics that the average member in a big box gym, that 70% of the members that enroll in a big box gym, this is crazy, never use it.
That is true.
They never even go. I was like, how could this be true? They never go. Like you read the article, it's like they never go. They got pumped up by, Change Your Life in January. They go, they sign a year contract.
Yep.
It's only $10 a month, and they never cancel it after the year. And it just keeps billing them monthly, and they never go, ever. Crazy. So we're getting the opposite results.
Well, Bryan, but that's a great point, because I've been to those gyms over the years, and you're right, because the membership is, fairly cheap. And, there is nobody that's going to tell you, hey, let's go. You have to be here every day. Some gyms, they have classes, Zumba, this, that, the other. And so people get excited about the social aspect of it and they go. But most of the people, they go there. And if you miss a month, if you miss a few weeks, it's not like it's not painful. You're not hurting into your pocket, but you're hurting your body, right? But that's really, and that's exactly what I think those large, platforms, bank on, is the fact that, most of the membership, they can have thousands of people and they will never run out of space. They'll never reach capacity, right?
You're not even there. The people aren't coming. They could have tens of thousands. It's like, that's the model is.
And when you have a contract, whether you go or not, you're still paying. So, yeah. So that's actually, I know I guess that's a model on its own, and it works, and it's been working for years and years and years. But the boutique style, the boutique uniques, like yours, they're not, when I say boutique, it's a different concept. It's a smaller studio with a limited amount of people in a particular session, and they all kind of come in for the same program. And that's what's been more of a trendy thing. That makes a difference. Plus, I know it's not $20, not $10. So people have to actually commit to that price range, and they have to really get their money's worth. But then when they see the results, it's worth the investment. If you take a personal trainer, the average personal trainer right now is what, $600 to $1,000 for a few weeks, or a few sessions, actually, I forget, a few weeks. Yeah. So that's really a lot of money, but half hour with a trainer is not going to change you, over the years, over the few sessions. You need to be consistent. You have to be at the gym at least 3-4 times a week, if not even 5 times a week, to really see, and spend about an hour to 2 hours. Not, just, we're not talking about just maintaining your health. I'm talking about really getting fit. Yes. And so it takes a little bit of a dedication and determination and really consistent, approach. And it's not like, just hit and miss and expect that you're going to be good. And you add to it the food. You said nutrition, big deal. Processed food, not good. Salt, sodium, all the stuff that's in there is not good for you. you talked about insulin, right? But besides the insulin, I think there's other things that people feel better about, because now their heart, their cholesterol is better, their blood pressure is different. I mean, your brains are functioning because your oxygen rates are like, much better now. Your lungs are like working, double time. So everything is good. Your immune system is kicking, high. And that's, so now even disease, other things you can kind of face differently. So that's a big deal. And you have an actual, real demonstrated success here. And again, how long has it been now since you've started the Max Challenge?
10 years. September was 10 years. So just exactly
Wow.
10 years. Yeah.
So if I asked one thing, so a decade, how many members and how many lives you've touched over, if you know the number more or less?
At this
Does that have to
point,
be accurate?
it's hundreds of thousands. It's a lot of people.
That's a good feeling.
It's amazing. When I wake up in the morning, one of the numbers that I track every single day shows, I have a little dashboard, and one of the numbers is how many check-ins, how many people took, right? And to see, even over the pandemic, 10,000, 15,000 people checking in virtually when we were doing it virtually, over the pandemic. It's amazing. And now, it's inching back up, 20,000 people a day checking into the Max Challenge, and all throughout all the centers. It's amazing. Those are, like you said before, it's not just that person's life. I know when I got back in shape, not only did it change my life, now my kids have a better role model.
Well, you have energy to spend time with them and play with them and do. I mean, he was a young kid, so you had to have the energy. Otherwise, you're not going to do. Younger children are a lot of energy, and if you're not really in shape, forget about it.
To see, wow, like taking care of yourself. It's not, my dad's not just telling me to take care of myself. He's doing it himself. He's getting up every day. He's exercising. He's not throwing garbage in that. Right now, he's 22 years old. So, finally, when they're teenagers, they don't listen to you at all. They don't listen to me now either, but they're watching very closely. Right. So our kids, like they say, they don't listen to us very well, but they watch us. And so when they see us taking our health seriously and into our own hands, it's not going to happen overnight, but slowly but surely we're inching our way in there, and we're making an impression that's going to last a lifetime. And maybe this next generation will be the one that, has a much better outcome, because right now, their obesity is like one of the biggest problems that we're facing as a country.
Well, there's factors to that. I mean, unfortunately, the new generation, because of the technology, some of them don't even leave their homes. I mean, a lot of younger folks, they are into gaming and online businesses and things like that. So they don't have to leave, their nice, seat or chair, and they just kind of like in front of the system. So there's not enough physical movement. There's no physical activities. So, and then because they sit home a lot, they just order food in. I mean, we've seen movies about it, and they make a comedic, platform. But at the end of the day, it is really serious. It's it is almost a tragedy. Like you go to a gym, you don't see a lot of younger folks anymore. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I mean, everybody was like trying to get buffed up and stuff. Now you see some, but not as maybe because colleges also have their own gyms and things. Maybe that's what it is. But even that, I don't know if they're really as busy as they used to be. I haven't checked out of college recently, but I can tell you. but that's a big deal. And I love the concept when you said that even through the pandemic, because I was going to ask about. It was a challenge for the Max Challenge during and everybody else. I mean, the fitness world, because of mandates, they were almost one of the largest and the most hit industries. I mean, the fitness industry is just basically, if you have a gym, you shut down. Exactly. And some gym adapted, but not everybody was able to actually maintain membership and maintain things, because it just became a nightmare. But you mentioned that you've actually moved into a virtual environment, and you were able to still get 15,000 a day checking in, and that's great. I mean, that's big. And you made it. Because I remember driving literally in Old Bridge back, for during the pandemic, and I'm like, all the gyms down the block, everything is closed. I mean, some of them even closed in the area, and that was a tough break, right? And I mean, a tough thing. That's not a break. It was tough. And then you've restarted as soon as the opportunity opened up and people are back, and that's great. So was that something as soon as the pandemic hit? Were you already thinking about like what would be the next move in case something happens or lockdown, or how did that work?
Oddly, before the shutdowns actually took place, I happened to be in New York for some business, and I happened to be with a group of people, and there was a lot of people coughing and sneezing. And then there was a lot of nervous people. And then I was listening to the news a lot, and I kept hearing about how there's these shutdowns in Italy and it's completely dark. And, I went home and I said, we're going to
This
be
is
shut
happening.
down.
Yeah.
We're going to be shut down. This is going to be incredible, but we are going to be shut down. This is coming here. And so 2 weeks before the mandated shutdown, we announced to all of our franchisees that we were going to close. We were going to shut down before everybody else and go virtual. And we had already designed a plan to go virtual on Zoom. And along with that, we produced professional videos that we launched so that members could, watch these videos in the interim as we trained up the frontline staff and how to use the Zoom. So 2 weeks before Governor Murphy in New Jersey said, we're closing down gyms, we were closed down. And people say to me, like, how did you know? I didn't. I just had a very strong feeling, and I had this inner gut feeling. All I wanted to do was to keep people safe at that point in time. And so we did it. I followed my gut. I made a courageous move, and it happened to be the right move. We got ahead of the curve. And really our idea was, let's build a white picket fence around our communities. In other words, let's keep our people together. Let's bring them together on the Zoom. Let's figure out how to really master all those important touch points I was talking about before, where people may fall off or not get engaged or not be showing up. And let's figure out how to provide really exceptional classes on Zoom. It's not going to be perfect because we don't have good microphones. It's obviously not, professional grade, fitness production, because we're just doing Zoom lives, from each of the individual centers. So there's like 100 different, but it was strong enough and the community was strong enough that we built this white picket fence, kept people together, kept people coming. And then as we got the hang of it, we even turned on enrollments, and then we started enrolling people, and then the membership started to trickle up.
Wow.
So,
well, Bryan, that was awesome. You anticipated this because of, you were paying attention to what's going on around the world. You didn't have to wait for it to happen here. It happened before somewhere, it can happen here. So you started being cutting edge, and you did. And you're right, it was not easy to transit. And infrastructure wise, not everybody had the equipment, and even Zoom, if you have the regular Zoom, sometimes it shut down after 40 minutes.
oh my gosh, it was crazy. It's like, I didn't even know what Zoom was. Like now, I didn't even know what it was, and neither did like half the people here. It was absolutely insane. And
well, Zoom was around for a few years, but it was used very moderately. But then it just like poof, this became
yeah.
I love Zoom, by the way. I use it, every day, so I know. Well, so you transited through the pandemic, and I know during the pandemic, actually, it was necessary for people because people were really locked down in their homes. It was also winter. You couldn't really go places, and without activity, the immune system. So now you're actually even more, vulnerable to disease and infection and things like that. So exercise was almost a primary, target for everyone, to stay fit and stay in the right mind state of mind, rather. So you did it, and I guess you did it well. And you said it even enrollment, boosted up a little bit. So why not, right?
Yeah.
And then you came out of the pandemic. We resumed everything, and I think at this stage, you're pretty much at maybe 90%, back to where you were, right? As a toll franchise. I mean, obviously, some states probably better than others, right?
Definitely, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So that leads us to the discussion about you mentioned franchisees. So let's talk about that aspect of it. I know you mentioned about 100 franchisees right now, I guess studios. So some may be owned by, same people and like have multiple locations. And so obviously when you started your concept on that business plan, was there a franchise concept in there, or it came in after?
I always had a love of franchising. I was always intrigued by it. I've read every book on franchising. I've read every book, even though I'm not a fan of McDonald's. I've read every book about McDonald's. I've interviewed like the local McDonald's owner, when I was a kid, actually. And I actually looked into franchising my karate schools, but decided that that wasn't a good path for me to go down. So I always love franchising, but what I love about it, it's an opportunity not only to scale maybe a little bit quicker than, because you're putting other people in business, you're helping other people use your proven plan to build their own business. But the amazing thing about it is I'm giving an opportunity to other people to really follow their passion and at the same time do something that they're doing something they love, develop a great income for themselves and their families. And that's incredibly satisfying. Like one of the greatest stories I have is our Staten Island franchisee who, she's absolutely amazing. She's fantastic. Her name is Roseanne. She actually lives in New Jersey, but by the time she went to purchase her, that she got enough car, that was it. Like she had
Territory was gone. I know.
She built up 3 of them in Staten Island and made a great income for herself and her family. But some of the proudest moments is when she tells me, I just got back from Rome with my entire family. This was a vacation of my dream. When I see people achieving their dreams like that, and they're saying, I wouldn't have been able to do this without being involved with the franchise ownership, that makes me feel like this whole thing is coming full circle because we're really helping people achieve their dreams.
Well, you do. And most of the people, if you ask them, would you want to start? I used to ask this question in trainings, I used to teach real estate amongst other things, right? So one of the questions is, and even in insurance sales, I asked the question, if you were to be given the opportunity to be your own business, person and own your own business, would you? And what's stopping you? Most of the people was like, oh, it's money, but I'd love to. And that's usually what you hear. Like, I would love to, but I just need money. Of course, in the context of, of just the real estate stuff, you tell them, but this is your business, right? You Inc., right? But really, it is fact that if you give people the opportunity to start a business that is relatively low in terms of cost or like capital, an investment, they probably will jump on it. But to your point, it adds to it if they love what they're going to be doing. A lot of people love fitness and really, this world. And when you own your own business, as difficult as it may sound, I mean, it is not easy because you're in charge, right? Something goes wrong and it's your source of income. But if you get it to a point where it's really moving nicely, then you have some, some freedom, some liberties, and you can do things and live the life you want. And you don't have to have a boss, somebody to tell you what's up. Now, there's always a boss somewhere. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to report to someone somewhere. But the end of the day is you're doing something you love. You're enjoying your life. You're helping others, but also you can put some time back to your own and your family. Good example. I mean, they're able to travel. They know that the show is running. I mean, 3 studios. There's a manager running each one. The show is going. People are happy. Members are happy and satisfied. And also, I think with the concept of franchise, you give them a formula that is already dissected, ready. It's step A to Z. They don't have to even think, right? You just basically take it as a template cookie cutter. Here how it is. Even the design of the space. I mean, I've been to those, to your studios. I mean, it's pretty almost the same everywhere. You got your racks, you got your mat, you got your bags. You have all the stuff, and that's it. And you have your instructors that are trained in a particular format. The same model here, it's the same model, whatever. So it makes it also easier from them, from a franchisee aspect, that they don't have to think much. They just have to apply and really manage, whatever they do and really stay on top of their game. But really, you're pre-cooking. It's almost like, giving them microwavable stuff, and they just have to cook it, warm it up in a microwave.
I never looked at that.
Bad analogy, but you know what I mean.
I like that.
But yeah, I mean, so that's a big deal. I mean, and it is, I'm not sure if this is something we can talk about today, but I am familiar more or less of the cost of the franchise. At least I was. I don't know today what that is, but it was actually very competitively priced in terms of a franchise. And when you look at the McDonald's and the Dunkin' Donuts and all the other ones that, and we're not bashing anyone here today, but I know that they're like really not happy about fitness worlds because we're like, but we do exist, we coexist, right? They get them a little weight, we make them lose the weight, right? That's how it works, right? But the concept is, they're very expensive. I mean, if you imagine right now, like back in the days when I was younger, like McDonald's is a great place, Dunkin' Donuts, but how much does it take to invest in such an, a business? A lot. You need to have, a lot of net worth, a lot of money to even just to purchase, let alone the actual structure. We have to build it and get it done. And you can, obviously with franchise, you have to have exactly the same model. So your concept is pretty simple, to a degree. You don't have to have fancy stuff or it's really a match. It's like almost you template on a martial arts concept. It's really looks like a martial arts karate school with a little bit of, spin, but that's it. But that's a difference, right? And when someone even listening today, whether you want to get healthier, fitter, and all the stuff, and that's great. You also want to make some money. There's an opportunity that is not as expensive. And I think, again, I don't know the details, but you do have some sort of, I don't know, is there financing, for people?
Oh, yeah. Well, firstly, we definitely have financing, but something that's I'm incredibly excited about, and it's actually something that we relaunched, a plan that I dusted off and I'm relaunching that we came up with during COVID, or we dusted it off during COVID and said, you know what, this is a fantastic plan. It's worked for us before. We could help more people get into business with this plan, and let's do it again. And the basic idea behind this plan is, when I started the Max Challenge, it was a program. It wasn't a business, meaning I took the karate schools that I owned and I started a class there in the morning, right? And then when we proved it out and it worked, we went to the next town. We went to Old Bridge. We found a karate school. We sublet space.
I remember.
And we did it again. And then when it worked there, we did it in East Brunswick. We did it in Howell. We did it over and over and over again. We did it a dozen times. And then we converted those to free systems. So I thought to myself, who are the best franchisees? The best franchisees aren't necessarily the people with 150,000, 200,000, 300,000 or more to invest. Not necessarily. The best franchisees are the ones that have the passion, the work ethic, and the sincere desire to help people live happier, healthier lives. So we dusted off this program and we relaunched it. We actually just opened up in Mill Basin, New York, in Brooklyn, with in this concept. We call it the Express model. So we're up and running quick. It costs less than $50,000 for a franchisee to get in, with advertising, their franchise fee, their training, everything.
Wow.
And in short order, they're up and running, and it's going to take about 18 months to go from opening to moving it into your own freestanding building. In fact, the woman I was telling you about before, Roseanne in Staten Island, who has three in Staten Island, each and every one of those was started within a martial arts school inside of the Express model. So it's an amazing opportunity for people to get into business with an incredible support system, because we're behind them the whole step of the way. But if you don't have, like, let's say Orange Theory, it's literally 700, 800,000 to get into Orange Theory. If you're managing an Orange Theory and you're working for somebody else and you have a passion for helping people to live better lives, here you could get into this for less than $50,000. We have financing. It's an amazing opportunity for people. And that's what I'm most excited about, helping more people exercise their passion and make a really fantastic living doing it.
So Bryan, if just to break down the Express model, and I'm quite familiar with it, but just for the audiences. So my understanding is that, there is a martial arts school, so they really have the space and they have the infrastructure. You basically are leasing the program time in there, or something like that, right? So you're using that space and just bringing your formula in there for a particular hour or two or whatever in a day, more or less. And once you have that and people know about it and stuff, then you can certainly, move and have your own space at that point and kind of make it full-time, just, the Max Challenge program. Is that, did I summarize it correctly?
Almost exactly. So we work with martial arts schools, gymnastics schools, dance, any place that has open floor space that's not being used in the morning hours, and that could give us 1 or 2 hours at night. And then basically what happens is we build it up from one or two classes to 3 and 4 to 5 and 6. Then when we hit about 7 classes, we get our own space. We blow out the schedule. We got 10 classes at that point, and then it becomes even more profitable. But it's a way for people to get in and then step up to being incredibly successful. I call it making a small bet, right?
Well, actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a small bet. A friend of mine taught me it years ago, like when I came up with the concept for the max. He says, don't drop everything that you're doing. Make a small bet. Start small over here. And then as you learn, you're going to add more. As you learn, add more. And then we went from adding classes to adding locations, and then adding more locations, and then converting them to franchises. And it's the same thing we're doing over again. We're dusting off an old plan and giving people an amazing opportunity to get into business for themselves.
And I have to say, today, more than ever, it's needed. I mean, with everything that's going on right now, and, you know, people are not willing to go back to business. They want to be on their own. And so, I mean, not business, but to work for others. And so yeah, I think it's perfect timing. And I love the concept because, to your point, you can do this, you know, you start with a few hours, you can still have a full-time job and still be able to do this.
Yes.
You know, you can moonlight to almost invest, you know, and build this to a point where you're almost compensate for your losses if you were to lose that job. And now you have equal amount of funding to survive, and then you start building. So, I mean, it's a very simple model, but it's effective. So again, folks, if you're listening, watching, and you have an interest in having your own opportunity in business and in the world of fitness, this could be one of the most, you know, easy, accessible formulas that you can, I guess, investigate and inquire with. So again, Bryan, how can they reach out to find out more about, you know, the opportunity with you guys?
Sure. They could visit our website, which is quite easy to find. It's themaxchallenge.com, or they could just email me directly at Bryan with a Y, Bryan at themaxchallenge.com, and I will point them in the right direction.
See, that's pretty simple. And I'll have that description actually at the, I'll have that information in the description of the show, rather. So I know we talked about, the success, the franchise, the cost, and all of that. What are some of the challenges that you've come across as you were doing this? Because I mean, it sounds all good. I'm sure you had. I mean, as every business owner, there are struggles, right? There are things that you and unforeseen, and many things that can happen. And also, a secondary question is, what are some of the objections that some people may have to joining your franchise, for example?
So I'll start
that you're aware of.
Yeah, that's okay. Starting with the biggest, the obstacles in business, and I think business is one problem lined up after another. In other words, here's a problem, there's one right after it, then there's another right after, another right after, another right after it. The minute that I accepted that is the minute I started to become more successful. Why? Because now I face that problem head on, right? Okay, here's a problem. The faster I can solve that, get that out of the way, what do? Go to the next one, solve it, get out of the way. But unless I accept it, then I'm always saying, oh man, this is just an endless string of problems. This is a nightmare. This is not what I signed up for. But I tell people right from the start, business is one challenge after another after another. First, you got to figure out how to crack the code and get members into your center, marketing. Once you figure that out, get it out of the way. Then you got to get really good at sales. We're going to figure that out together. I'm going to teach you the system. You're going to dedicate yourself to it, but then we're going to get to the next one. Now we're going to have to figure out how to go from keeping someone for 24 months to 36 months, like they're doing in Old Bridge. They keep a member for 36. Figure it out, get it out of the way, get to the next one. So business is just one gigantic problem after another. If you accept it, you're going to do really well. And if you face them head on, you're going to do really well. Don't take too long to make decisions because you're not exercising. It's like exercise. If you don't exercise, you become weaker. If you don't exercise your decision-making becomes weak. So you have that problem in front of you. We're going to make decisions. We're going to move on to the next one. So that's the first one. And objections, I think all of us have two voices, whether we're trying to start a business on our own, whether we're considering joining a franchise, the Max Challenge, or something else, or maybe we want to get back into shape, or we've never been in shape, whatever it is, right? And one voice is saying, go for it. You got what it takes. You're a strong person. You've got all the confidence you need to succeed. People need what you have. But then the large majority of us, and most people don't admit this, but I admit it, myself included, all of us, I believe, have this other voice that says, have you lost your mind? What are you getting yourself into? You're going to risk what? How much? And you're going to get up at what time to do what? And then you're going to go to work at your full-time job to get the, right? And if you pay attention to the voice that tells you that you can't do it, who are you to think you deserve that success? That voice grows until it dominates who you are. But if you pay attention to the other voice, it grows as well until it dominates who you are. So the biggest obstacle that we really have to face, the biggest objection, are the ones that come from ourselves, right? This is a proven formula. There's many proven formulas out there, but people convince themselves out of following, their heart and following their dreams, because ultimately, the side that says be safe and secure. To me, the safest way is often the most risky way.
Agreed. No, I mean, you have to take risks.
And if I'm on my deathbed and I have to think to myself, only if, right? Imagine if I made it to only if I followed my heart. I wonder what it would have been like if I followed my heart and tried to develop a business to help people through fitness and nutrition. I wonder what would have happened. I don't have to wonder anymore. I don't have to wonder, right? And that's the pity of, I think people go for it. Give it everything that you got.
Right. I love that. I mean, that is actually, again, conceive, believe, achieve, right?
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, you have to, and you're right. I mean, everybody has that voice that says, especially if it's fed by other people around you, like, are you crazy? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And by the way, this applies to everything, even work, even regular job. I mean, within a career path, people say, oh, you're going to do this. That's too much. Why do you have to take risks and stuff? I mean, no guts, no glory, right?
Yeah.
You need to take risks, and that's it. You got to make it. And yes, is there a risk? There's always a risk. I mean, what's the worst going to happen? That's when you have to evaluate that loss.
Yes.
Am I prepared to make, that loss? And if it happens, how am I going to feel about it? Well, it will be a learning lesson, or maybe I'll move to the next one. And I know a lot of people, I mean, you were in martial arts schools, and I'm sure you've tested it out over the years, and you've had your ups and downs there. And it wasn't easy. And I can tell you, I know I have friends who own them. I mean, they still do other things,
Yeah.
because it's not enough to support, a full, I mean, unless you have a super large, model where you have them all over the place and almost like a franchise concept. But if you have one studio, I mean, how many members can you possibly training students you can have? I mean, it's going to be limited to the hours of the day. And, there's a cost, there's overhead. So it's going to be difficult. But you're right. I mean, you do have a concept that is cooked, ready, and it's proven over the years, 10 years in the making. So it's not something like that happened overnight. And it is fairly accessible, fairly, attainable financially. And so I would say even better, more. Listen, I've looked into the world of franchise, and I've actually seen that, looked into a lot of them over the years, and just to compare what it costs and stuff. And some of these franchises, you don't even, you buy the franchise, but you really work for the franchise. You don't really own your business. I mean, an example, 7-Eleven, you're an employee. You're not even an owner, even if you bought the franchise. With Dunkin' Donuts, I mean, you have to have a lot of money. Eventually, if you have 2 or 3 potential locations, then you'll start making some real, trends. McDonald's, forget about it. I think it's untouchable. Some of these larger ones, I forget it, and there's smaller ones that are still kind of like coming up. In the world of fitness, I mean, there are few that are similar pricing range out there. CKO and a few other models, I think they have the similar models, but they have different angles. In kickboxing, Orange Theory is a whole different concept, but to your point, that's a little bit too pricey. Again, it's maybe for some that can afford that. And, in some areas, there will be an awesome, format, right? Or formula of exercise and fitness, but not necessarily for all the communities. Let's call it for what it is. Some communities, they might just want to go to a regular gym or something that is affordable. And also when the cost is less, the actual pricing is less, because now, it's also accessible and cheaper for a member to join. I mean, fairly, I'm not saying it's like $10, $20, but comparably to some of these special, locations where you have to pay a couple $100 a month to have a membership. Obviously, not everybody can afford that. So you got to be somewhere in the middle. But if your overhead is less and you're able to have less cost, upfront, and also like maintaining costs, you can survive with a decent amount of members, and you don't have to have a lot of members, because that's the other thing. If you have too many people, you're not going to dedicate, you're not going to have staffing to have that attention, individual attention, because you want to have that. People need to be in a gym, especially these forms of gyms, studios. you want to get, to know your members. Like, the class is small and there's a few people in there. And as an instructor, I know everyone, almost like a personal touch, right? And you have to have that. But like you said it, when you go to regular gyms or like the larger, box, concepts, you're just another member, more, unless you've been there for years, they don't even know who you are. You just check in, scan your card and go. Nobody knows who you are. But, in here you walk in, hey, how you doing, Bryan? How's your day? And, I know you do all different activities, sociable stuff. So it's different. I think that's the part. It's a family oriented kind of concept, or at least it creates a family spirit, in there, I would say. So we're actually exceeded the hour here. So it was intense. It was good. I think we had an excellent dialogue here and a lot of good, information for folks that are watching and listening. So anything that makes you really, really excited today, about your achievement?
The most exciting thought that I have, moving forward is really just, there's two ways that you could look at every challenge put in front of you. One, you could look at it and say, man, this has been the most horrific 2 years. I'm talking about what we've all experienced collectively, because collectively, we've all been through terrible circumstance in the last 2 years, for some worse than others, right? I mean, I hear some stories, I'm like, oh my gosh, how could all that happen to one person on top of a worldwide pandemic? But collectively, we've all been through a shared traumatic event as a community, as a nation, and really the entire world. This is a traumatic event. And people are suffering from this, but at the same time, I see certain groups of people coming closer together. I see certain groups of people becoming kinder. I see certain groups of people who've rediscovered maybe a passion for something in life, and now they're going for it. So that's what I'm most excited about. It's not only a new beginning for the Max Challenge, meaning we're relaunching, dusting off this old plan, bringing more franchisees into the system, but in a different way that we've tested and proven out before. I'm very excited about that, but I'm excited because there's a lot of new beginnings. And I think the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, things are really going to be looking fantastic for our communities, for all of us as individuals, for our country as a whole. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you, Bryan. Just one question, since you talked about pandemic, something that hit my mind right now, and I did want to ask, but so do you see any potential of, I guess, issues with vaccination and stuff in terms of legislation in the state, and if they were to limit people, they will have, because it happened in New York already. You can't go to gym unless it's happening already. So is there any, and I know you have franchises there, so in Jersey, or at least in other states, is that and in New York, I mean, what's the outcome?
It's a consideration. However, what I chose to do, and I try my absolute best. I cannot control other people's thoughts.
Sure.
I can only, point them in the direction that I think is right. And to me, I could only control what I could control. So I can't control what the government does. I can't control what a governor does. I can't control legislation. I can't control, I could vote and this and that, but there's very little I could do to impact those circumstances. What I could control is my response, my mood, my attitude, and that's what I'm choosing to do, right? And it's panning out. And, I see it in my franchisees too. Franchisees who are more capable of controlling their emotions, not get triggered by the actions of others, whether it be a member who's disappointed with something, which happens very infrequently in our system, but it does happen, or it might be maybe another franchisee rubbed them the wrong way, or it might be the government is rubbing them the wrong way, right? People who can control their emotions and think logically and look for making the best out of whatever situation is handed them tend to do better overall. That's just what I'm observing overall.
So I take it. I mean, you're ready for whatever, comes on, and whatever you can handle it.
Bring it on. We're through the worst of it. It's not going to get any worse than it was a year ago.
That's true.
Right? A year ago in New York, from March of 2020 to March of 2021, we were closed.
Yeah.
100%.
Crazy.
At least in New Jersey, we were able to open with masks and this and that. We were closed. Zero, nothing. Nobody was allowed to open up the door. So they wouldn't even let you in there to do your Zoom classes out of there. We had to do it out of people's apartments and things. Crazy. So, we're through the worst of it. That's not happening again. We're moving forward and only good things. We've learned that we're more resilient than we may have ever thought. We learned that there's no shortage of great ideas or of resources, just resourcefulness, right?
Mhm.
And people who think that way, I think, are positioning themselves to do the best that they can do, even when they're handed not so good situations. That's my take on it.
Listen, I appreciate it. And I think a lot of people would really take that for what it's worth and maybe even apply that rule. You have to adapt, and you're doing a terrific job about it. One more question on that same aspect, and we're going to wrap it up. And I don't know if you experienced this or not, but in terms of instructors, I know it's been a little bit difficult for businesses as a whole to find talent and or employees in general. Have you experienced any of that in the last year or even more recent after we reopened?
100%. 100%. It's coming back. And really what I notice is, at the Max Challenge, we're developing and consistently developing and refining our ability to not just create jobs for our instructors, but careers. So yeah, so when they know that they have the opportunity to maybe eventually, due to their service and their dedication and their mastery of our system and business processes, they have the opportunity to own a center one day, right? Because of their hard work, meaning there's a career path, right? So when you lay out a career path, it becomes easier. Not that it hasn't been hard, not that we haven't had shortages, not that our franchisees and managers haven't worked twice as hard to make up for the shortfall in help. But I'm very optimistic because we're creating careers and opportunities instead of jobs. And that's going to make a world of a difference for this brand.
Smart. I mean, it's a great strategy in building, a path for folks, because now they don't just have to think that this is going to be a dead end. This is going to be potentially my future, and that will change the dynamics in terms of how they invest their time and commitment. I get it, and that's
They're
great.
not working for us; they're working for
themselves. That's right. That's right.
To help themselves get to where they want to go in life.
And by the way, I mean, if someone wants to have that and they have that dream, I mean, imagine you back in the days, if someone says, if you work this, that, and you'll be able to own the studio. I mean, that would have been great, right? I don't think it happened that way, but I don't know. Did it?
For me?
Yeah.
No, it didn't happen that way.
You had to do it yourself.
But in thinking about it, sometimes I think back and say, I should have, before I went out and launched on my own, if I went out and worked under, the greatest school owner in the world, I would have learned everything that I needed to know and then, been more successful. But, I had to discover it myself. Some of the things I could have learned a lot faster. Yeah.
That's great. So one last question. That's I promise.
Sure.
Expansion plans. I know you said you're in 6 states, and in the US, do you have any idea or at least expectations to move to other states and or even other nations?
Yeah. So other nations is definitely no for the time being, because there's so much. It's like we've got all these states that we have all this empty territory in the United States, right? So no reason yet. However, even right now, we're going into expansion mode, right? Like during the initial of the pandemic, it's shrink. Okay, protect what we got, hold on to as much as we can, and let's see what the future has to hold, right? Mm-hmm. Then we're coming out of it. We start growing. We're bringing in members. Now we're starting to bring in franchisees. However, we're using a concentric approach, meaning we're focusing on the tri-state area, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, the Northeast, mm-hmm. New York, Connecticut, Ohio. Why? Because our support team could get out to those people relatively easily. We don't have to hop on planes. And this is going to give us an even stronger presence. So we're going to grow as fast as we can without compromising who we are as an organization and putting people through the filter. Is this truly someone that is dedicated to help people live happier, healthier, more fulfilled lives? And so the more of those people that we could get in is as fast as we're going to grow, but only that far. They have to master our business skills. Once they master that, we'll go as far as we can. But it's going to be a slow, methodical approach of getting the right people into the system.
Bryan, I have to say, I am very impressed with your strategy. I mean, you have a very, very sound way of running your business, and you have tactical advantages. You have targets, you have deadlines, you have goals, you have territory management. You got it all under, control, which is awesome. And again, you deserve, you being the founder, being the CEO, and you have the vision, and you're really delivering that vision. So again, you are a role model to a lot of people. So if someone wants to really, yeah, it is what it is. These are facts. I mean, in the way you actually even present them, you are passionate about them and you know them inside out. And it only comes from someone that understands their concept inside out, from conception to an inception to actually delivery to the future. And that's true leadership and true, vision. So I just, again, I want people to see that. And by the way, they can apply this in all kind of walks of life. This doesn't have to be in this particular realm. It can be anything. That's the way you're supposed to run your business. That's the way you're supposed to have vision. So Bryan, it's been real. It's been great. I had, a real fun time. We had a great, insights from you about, the world of franchise, the world of fitness, your story, and really your vision to help other people. And definitely you've gotten the results and people are happy. And, that is great. I have nothing else to say. I mean, I just wanted to thank you with all my heart for being with us and giving us, your time. It's valuable. So any last words before we close?
If you have a dream, follow it. Don't hold back, push forward, and do your best to make it happen. Take action.
My man, that's it. I love that. That's it. You have a dream, go for it, baby. So folks, that here you go. That's it. That's the advice from Bryan Klein. Thank you very much, Bryan. Thank you, folks, for watching the iHealth channel, the Fit and Fab channel, and listening on iHealth Radio. Your host, Ken H. here. For now, bye. We'll talk soon. Next show, next guest, next topic.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you.